Hi, I'm Dr. Scott from Sixth Sense Acupuncture and the Healthy Habits Club, and you're watching the Get Busy Livin podcast. And we've got a wonderful guest today, Melissa Cook. And thank you very much, Melissa, for giving us your time today. Much appreciated. I can looking forward to hearing some gold nuggets from you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Appreciate it. I see you got the Christmas gear on, and also your
the colours.
Yeah, you got the Christmas gear on. So I'll start off with the first question. So, what gets you out of bed every morning, Melissa?
So, I am such an early bird, and I mean 4:30 is usually the time that my body clock just gets me up out of bed, and I've got to get up, start my day. And I really love getting up and going to the gym. So gym is my thing in the morning, and it really just starts me off on the right foot, feeling good, and then obviously enjoying a decent breakfast when I get back. So it's something I really look forward to because I've trained hard, and then I can enjoy a decent breakfast.
That's fair enough. And so, so that prepares you for what you're going to do for the day, is it?
Absolutely. And, as a nutritionist, I've obviously got to be the walking billboard as well. And so, I predominantly am living the life that, I hope to encourage with my clients as well. So full of energy and, just looking after myself in terms of health, lifestyle, mental health as well.
So you're walking the talk, basically.
Yeah, the walking billboard.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, you're a naturopath, is that right? You're
nutritionist. So
nutritionist.
No, you're right. The difference there is naturopaths use herbs. So I'm so much into food education, understanding the different types of ingredients and what's good for you, and the typical marketing jargon that can be very tricky to understand. Yeah, that's my passion. So it's all around food.
So tell us what got you into that? What's the name of your business too?
Uniquely You Nutrition. So
nutrition, okay.
.com.au. Yep.
So tell us about that. How did you get into that?
Oh goodness! So I was in the airlines for about 10 years, and got a little bit bored. There was nowhere else to sort of go in terms of other than management, and I knew the passion wasn't there in the airlines to become a manager. And I had a friend ask me, "What are you passionate about?" And I said, "Food." And that was my honest response. I've always loved creating healthier versions of food, even as a young girl. And that sparked, that, or planted that seed to then for me to look into colleges. And I started out as doing nutritional medicine, so an advanced diploma, and then I finished that, loved it so much, I actually did the degree in nutritional medicine. And whilst I was doing the degree, I worked for Weight Watchers as a wellness coach for 2.5 years, and that, I've always had an interest in weight loss, weight management. As a young girl, I was overweight, and my family have always been overweight, and I've seen the struggles emotionally, certainly with my mother, in regards to weight and the roller coaster ride as well of emotions. And so I've always had that passion of wanting to help people there. And so it just so happened that I got this position with Weight Watchers. And then even before I finished my uni degree, I was blessed to become a contractor with Metabolic Balance with a naturopath. So I work with her. So Metabolic Balance is a weight loss and health sustainable program. And so I work alongside her, but then I also have my own business called Uniquely You Nutrition. And so predominantly it is all around metabolic balance. And again, I walk the talk because I've been actually on the program for 3.5 years myself. So it is that sustainable program through your own blood work as well. So that's one of the major keys that is behind the science-based program. Yeah.
So tell us, why didn't you do the dietetics degree? Because that's usually what GPs.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I've not had anyone ask me that, but I will tell you why. So working in the airline, so as a flight attendant so it's actually 20 years now. So it was 10 years ago I made this decision. So I just worked sort of casually there, but I knew I didn't want to be locked up in like a hospital room where most dietitians, or a doctor's room, that's not me. So I love running workshops. I do a lot of health workshops, cooking workshops. I'm out and about, um, educating health in that sense. And so I guess that's the main reason. I just didn't want to be put in, a four-wall sort of small space day in, day out. I love getting out there as well. Yeah, so I've got my hands in a lot of different things.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, because yeah, okay, I get it. The other thing is, I saw a lot of dietitians. You probably see it in the nutritionists as well. They
What's that?
they're overweight.
Well, I've had a few clients actually say it's quite refreshing to be speaking to someone that's, that looks healthy, yeah.
Walking the talk.
And I didn't even think about that until, it was more of a common sort of response or question. And yeah, so I am seeing more and more of that now. But this is the thing, though. It depends. Like sometimes I think people are just so busy having their own business and putting everything into that, putting everyone else first.
Yeah.
And, letting yourself go, in other words, and struggling. But I think for myself as well, I've just, from the word go, and I mean, even in high school, I used to pay for my own gym, my gym fees, memberships. So I've just always been consciously active. And because, as I said, I was very overweight for many years, that I just never wanted to get back to that stage or that way. And not the physicality thing. It was actually how I was feeling within myself.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, the only reason why I bring that up, because when I worked at the Royal Brisbane, there was a dietetics outpatients, and that's on level 1 on the Medshed. James Main building, and there was all of them, all the dietitians were morbidly obese, and that's why I always thought that's a bit weird. They're giving people advice and they're not following their own. But what was I going to say? There's another lady, Dr. Liz Eisenring. You might not have heard of her, but she's from the Gold Coast, and she's a nutritionist as well. And she actually has a PhD in nutrition. And
Okay.
she did a lot of research into cancer, the prevention of with nutrition, and she got some crazy results. So, but she wasn't. Yeah, she had to change her life. That's why she went into private practice because she realised that that in the public service that they don't eat very well.
Mm. Oh,
So,
it is so interesting.
yeah, so she worked
But
for Queensland Health. She did work for Queensland Health, and because they every Friday they'd go and celebrate, so they get sloshed, and then they'd eat
yeah,
all these cakes, and then she said it was like the same thing during the week, but then they'd someone have a birthday, and then they'd have this big cake, and then everyone would be eating cake all day. So
I know.
she got out of it because she realised that it was just the environment that she had to
Yeah,
change where she was. So she went into private practice, and now she did the same thing. She lost a lot of weight. Um, she was a lot better. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a
yeah.
it's a weird beast, isn't it? The Queensland Health,
Oh, I've
they
got
talk.
some stories, and like I'd need a whole day because I'm very passionate about it as well. I've
Yeah,
had experiences there. It's not just hearsay where I'm just like, I don't even understand the health system here in terms of even the food that is brought out to the patients and um, the sausage and drinks and just things like that.
yes,
Um,
yes, yep.
yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, so
don't
because
let
I
me
checked
go
them out
into.
too. I went and checked them out too. I was because I'd look after patients as a security officer, and I was learning about this. I'm learning about nutrition. I'm learning about Chinese medicine, and
Mm,
and checking out what they're eating, and I'm like, oh wow, wow.
yeah. So
So
good on her for leaving that environment. If you can,
yeah,
yeah.
Well, she had to. She realized it was killing her. So, um,
Mm,
but also, she wanted she what she the other thing is she found that the research that she'd done, no one was implementing it into the hospital system,
mm,
and
very frustrating.
she went to the powers to be, and they said, well, we don't actually implement anything for another 20 years. So
Honestly,
your research is great. Like we recognize your research, but we're just not going to implement it for another 20 years. Go figure.
yep. I will just stop there.
Well, but she's not the only one that's told me that. I've had others that have explained the same thing to me. That
Mm,
come up with some unbelievable good research, and it's flawless, and they still we can't implement it. Sorry.
it's unfortunate, but we're so far behind the times. We really are compared to other countries as well in terms of
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and then I've lived with GPs as well. I've lived with interns as well, so
Mm-hmm.
they're learning the ropes. And they say to me, we don't learn anything about nutrition. We learn out of a 7-year degree. We do 3 weeks
Yeah,
on
I've
nutrition.
heard that myself. Yep.
That's firsthand straight from the interns.
And yet it
So
all stems from the food we eat, you know? Yeah.
did the hypocrisies talk about that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they take a Hippocratic oath. Anyway,
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I know. I
let
honestly
food
could
be
keep going on and on.
let food be thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food.
That's
Pretty
correct.
sure that's what.
100%.
Yeah. So you went to Weight Watchers. Tell us about that. How that would have been different. You were so were you part of the research side of things, or were you part of the front
No,
line?
I frontline. So I would run about 5 workshops a week. And the one, look, what works for one may not work for another in terms of, so I did see all the different types of personality traits and things like that in terms of the members.
Yep.
And so, it really is down to the mindset, big time. But look, it worked fantastically, or worked fantastically for some. But then as a coach, there were a couple of things, or quite a few things, I should say, that I just didn't agree with. However, I was there because I felt like I was empowering people. I actually used my, like I wasn't meant to, so, I was a little bit of a rebel, but I actually implemented quite a bit of my own, degree-based scientific approaches to food as medicine in my talks. And that's what my members loved, is I wasn't just doing the Weight Watchers protocol, because it wasn't my full belief. And I think that's where, my clients value my, what I do, and my experience and knowledge and passion, because I always talk what I believe. I won't just for the sake of it, or money, or anything like that. I truly want to help someone. And so a couple of the, things that I didn't agree with was weighing themselves when they came in. So I don't know if you've ever seen what a Weight Watchers sort of workshop looks like, but they must always come in and weigh themselves, and in front of everyone, and it can make or break their whole day. And so I didn't like that part of it, but that's their way of being accountable, having that accountability. And then, so some other concepts with the point system. I found that people were using points for alcohol or chocolate, and then actually reducing the amount of points for their meals. So they're not learning a sustainable way of eating. And I'm being serious here.
They're learning to cheat. That's basically what you're saying.
100%. And we don't, it's sort of hush that, from the WW perspective, because obviously they just want people in, right? But that's what I pride myself in. Like, I'll always remember I had a member come up to me, weighed herself, and I said, I haven't seen you in a few months. I've been wondering where you've been. And she said she'd hurt her back, but she said the last time she saw me, and I honestly didn't remember this, but the last time she saw me, she'd put on a little bit of weight and didn't like what was on the scales. Yep. And she was saying, but I had a pizza last night and a couple of drinks. That'll just be last night's, food or whatever. And I said, they're just excuses. And but because she knows, I am a very empathetic person, but that was just like what she needed to hear. She actually said to me, I walked away that day and said to my husband, do you know Melissa just said that it's all excuses? And he goes, it is. And she said that was what I needed, because she changed her thinking around. So sometimes you don't even realize you're helping someone. But look, I learned a lot, and I do love the members and their progress.
So you did 2 years with them. Did you learn a lot about their systems and how they approach accounting and stuff like that? Because that's what it sounds like, accounting.
I didn't know. That was so. For instance, I actually did try and get a position as a nutritionist with them, the problem is, because I wanted obviously to influence my learnings as a clinical nutritionist, it was very different to their philosophy, and that was the problem. That they actually didn't like that. So they do have their own system, protocol, methods. And as I say, it works for a lot of people. I've seen 30, 40 kilos lost in people.
Yep.
However, I've seen them come back a year later with more weight on. So it's not sustainable. That's how I see it.
So that's the problem with today's weight loss industry, is that 98% of all. But this is not my statistics. This is the National Research Council, National Institute of Research Council. They stated that 98% of all people that lose weight put it back on within the next 12 months. 98%.
That's huge. But what's the problem? There's something missing.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Yep. And people keep doing the same thing over and over again.
And I get it. I understand, because it's in our face everywhere we go. It doesn't matter where you go. It's on the corner of every suburb. It's on the corner of every corner. There's some sort of there's some sort of fast food somewhere. Like, you can't walk down the main street, any main street in Brisbane, and not run into a fast food establishment. So I get it. And it's easy, especially for parents. It's really hard. It's really hard because the kids are screaming at them. I want whatever it is, the foulest thing that they can think of. But they think it's great because they've grown up on that. They've grown
That's
up on
right.
that.
I don't know any different.
So I understand. I get it from the public's perspective. But I mean, if people stop eating it, people stop buying it. Wow. There'd be type 2 diabetes would crash.
Oh, I do. I know. I do put it down to a lot with the marketing from food companies, as well. Quite misleading. Very misleading, actually.
Yeah, Cully Means. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Cully Culley Means. Means he's on Twitter. It's X now.
Oh, yeah.
And he has a great analogy. He says that if the fish tank is dirty, you don't drug the fish.
I've never heard of that. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So what he's saying is the food industry and the medical industry is dirty, and instead of cleaning up those two industries, he said that's what they're doing, is they're just drugging us.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree with him. I totally agree with him. I'm seeing it. It's happening. It's been happening I've been in the healthcare industry for 20 years, and it's it's so in your face now. It's even worse now.
Yeah, it is. And that is definitely one of my biggest passions as a nutritionist, is to educate the masses on understanding food labels. So, don't just go by the front. It's got nothing to do with the actual food inside. You've got to read the ingredients.
Yeah, the ingredients and the table of contents.
Yeah,
the two.
100%.
Yep. Table, and especially the 100 gram. You've got to go by the 100 gram table. You
correct. Have you been to one of my workshops and I didn't realise?
Oh, yeah, you've been to one of mine.
I educate.
That's what I do. That's what I do. Yeah, so I totally agree with you. Ingredients is very important too, because when you figure out what the carbs are, because you'll say, I don't know, 30 to 60% carbohydrates.
Mm.
Then you look up what the ingredients are, then it tells you, oh, it's full
Yep.
of wheat. Oh, it's full of sucrose. It's full of sugar,
That's it.
or it's full of. But they get this. Like you said, they're smart in the way that they name. There's three different ways of calling sugar sugar. It's three different names, so they give it a different name. They'll
And yeah.
they'll say sugar cane.
Mm.
So you think, oh, it's
But
raw sugar cane. No, it's not.
yeah,
So yeah,
I know. That's what I mean. There's different words but that mean the same thing. So
yeah,
again, misleading. And the one thing I do educate people is the basic rule. The ingredients list will read most to least. If you see sugar within the first three ingredients, you know the
yeah,
majority of that food or drink is sugar.
yep, yep. That's
Easy
exactly right.
done. Put it back.
Yep. Yeah, and oil as well. That's another one. Palm oil. So they
Mm,
like palm oil and what's it? Canola
yes.
oil. That stuff. Don't eat that stuff, guys. Please.
Oh, yeah.
That stuff is
I still
poison.
see that used on cooking shows and in family recipe magazines and things. And I'm like, aren't they learning yet? I don't understand that. We
Yeah, yeah,
know that it's so inflammatory.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And, it's the way they extract it. That's the problem. They extract
Mm,
it from the seed. They heat it up. They
mm,
have to heat it up, and that reconstitutes the oil. So when you heat it up again, then that reconstitutes it again. So
yep.
you're reconstituting the oil, and they also changed. They modified the genetics of the seed.
Mm.
They had to. They had to in 1988. They had to change it because it was too hard to get the oil out of the seed. So
So
they,
to make
yeah,
it easier, they've worsened our health.
and made it
Yeah,
cheap
yeah,
as.
yes. Always about the money as well for them.
Well, yeah, and I get why restaurants use canola because it's a third of the price of olive oil.
Mm.
You get olive oil, and it's at least that um, 200-300% markup in comparison. So I get why restaurants use it. They're trying to make $1, and they've got to cut down their costs. So, but yeah, at what expense?
Exactly.
At what
Mm.
expense? Well, they don't know either. Most of them don't know themselves.
This is the other thing. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
the You'll get the really good chefs, the elites. They get it. They understand. But
Mm.
then you've got to pay for it. So then, yeah, because they've got to buy. They know that they have to buy good quality oil. They have to buy good
Mhm.
quality products.
Yeah.
So they're paying for it.
Well, I certainly would pay a little bit more for something that's not going to cause me health conditions
Cancer,
down the track.
cancer,
Yes. Yes. Mm.
cancer. So yeah, so yeah, I talk about that a lot too. Oil is very important. Nicole Yates, I'm going to mention her. She talks about oil and how that's essential for the brain
Mm-hmm.
because the brain's 66% fat. So
Mm-hmm.
you need a lot of fat to, and yet we've been told for 60 years now that, well, yeah, good 60 years that fat's no good for us. But there are good and bad fats. That's the difference.
That's the key, exactly. Knowing what the good fats are.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So then that comes back to your oils. What are you cooking in? And uh,
Even
yeah,
how
and
they're cooked and used.
yes, yes, that's
Mm.
right. Understanding your burning point on your oils as well is important. Not all oils are created equal. So some oils burn a lot earlier than other oils. So, but yeah, That's just oils, and then we go into protein. So there's only 3 macronutrients, guys. There's only 3. You only get 3 to choose from.
Make them good.
You get rid of one. You get rid of one. You got to add. You got to double up on the other 2, or triple up on one of them. So that's what that's the big problem that I found is that when they told us all to get rid of fat to reduce our fat intake, well, you've only got protein and carbohydrates left.
Yeah.
So one's got to give. So what do? They just increase the carbohydrate content of the foods. So that's why we've got this tsunami. It's just a tsunami of chronic disease issues because everyone's eating a high carb diet and don't even realize they're doing it.
Just going to say that because they're still in that old way of looking at it, because growing up, it's like stopping a habit that you've had for 20, 30 years. It's not just going to be like that,
Yeah. That's right.
So it really comes down to education.
Yes. Yeah, totally. But tell us more. So tell us more about you use blood markers. Is that right? So you can indicate how that's how you diagnose. That's how you get what people should be. Depending on what their blood type. Is that right?
It's not blood type. So what it actually enables us to do is 36 blood markers, and we do all this. We do all this for the client. They just take the form to QML. Now, this is allowing me to understand perhaps there's thyroid issues, which is why they've struggled to lose weight, or they, the main markers I see that are abnormal: iron, vitamin D, thyroid. So we do an extensive thyroid, TSH, T3, T4, compared to your GP, which is just TSH. And then even liver issues. So I see quite a bit of fatty liver, but also...
So do I.
Yeah. And people are wondering why it's so slow, the weight loss, that they've tried, over all their lives. But the poor liver is so overburdened that because they don't know this, so this is where I come in. I, work on the thyroid. I work on all of their deficiencies because iron is part of allowing the T3 and T4 to work effectively as well with the thyroid. And I see a lot of iron deficiency as well. But yeah, so that's in my first consultation. I'll also, look at sleep, mood, perimenopause, hormone imbalance, all of those sort of things. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle, putting them all together, and then, we have this food plan. So I really love clients that love having something in place to tell them what to eat, when to eat, and how much to eat, because this is ideally what our program shows. So part of that process of the bloods, I'm balancing through supplementation, which is still all part of the program, whilst the bloods and some other markers that we analyse as well will then create their food plan. And it literally tells you how much food, like protein, vegetables, fruit, the rye bread you should be eating, how much water you should be drinking as well. So there's no guessing. The majority of people are not eating enough protein. They're really not. And then I'm also finding post menopause is where no one knows about bone density issues, osteoporosis. And so I'm so big on getting that bone density right as well. So not only do you have your food plan, but you have my expertise with all of those other issues that have risen as well. Yeah, so it's that
Yeah,
jigsaw puzzle. Mm,
yeah. There's a condition called sarcopenia. So
yeah.
it's basically where the muscle starts to waste, and what happens is the fat in your body starts to take over, and it's becoming more and more prevalent now. They're saying over the last 15 years it's increased 150% in patients.
Mm,
So you were talking about protein before, and that's all because our stores have been deplenished. We've used them up basically, and yeah, the more you eat when you're younger, the better. Because when you get older, you store it better.
mm.
So yeah, that's a big problem. Yeah, it's getting worse. So yeah, so that if you know anyone that's elderly that's had a fall, pretty good chances because they've got sarcopenia.
Mm-hmm.
Their
Yeah.
muscles just aren't strong enough. All right. Thanks very much, Melissa. And so tell us about a story of how you've helped some patients with losing weight and keeping it off.
Yeah.
More importantly, being the 1 or 2%,
100%.
being the two
And that's
percent.
the wonderful thing about metabolic balance is that it is sustainable because it's so unique to you. And there's 4 phases where I'm in that last phase, and the last phase is for life, right?
Yep.
And it's a maintenance phase. So one story that just lights me up is I had a stand at, so I just love how the universe
Mm.
works its magic a lot of times. And it was such a random thing, last minute thing. I've gone into Raise Organics at North Lakes, and because I know them quite well, actually, the wife is a client of mine. And I had a stand, and I was introducing a workshop that I was going to do there. And this lady came in, and she's at the register, and she's got this huge box. So every Friday, she comes from Caboolture Way down there to get all of their organic food every Friday. And I actually thought to myself, do I just let her pass because she had so much her hands so full, and she just kept looking, and I'm like, I think I can help this
No.
lady. So she actually came up to me, and we were talking for about 30 minutes. She popped her carton down, and she became my client. Now, she had for years been so unhappy about just slowly that weight creeping on. And her husband's beautiful. He actually joined the program when he realized how it worked for her. So they were doing it together towards probably 3 or 4 months after she started. And so he came in with her one day, and he's like, I just want to thank you so much. I've got my wife back. Like, because they'd been married 30 odd years, how she used to be when she, was happier and lighter and more energy, could run after the kids and things. And she's actually sustained, so it's been about a year and a half now, and she's sustained 30 kilo weight loss by creating so there's 8 rules to metabolic balance. They're very, very basic rules to the point of 3 meals a day. Like, that's one rule. And she just knows what sort of foods on her plan work for her, what she enjoys, and she's created it as a lifestyle. But as I say, the memory for me was the husband, because he got teary. He teared up saying thank you to me. And at Christmas time last year, they actually brought me the most beautiful thank you gift. Or it was a gift box of all these beautiful organic products, because they know, as a practitioner, you do get more personable with clients, and I feel like it's a great thing to have when the client trusts and feels like it's just easy to chat, and so they can be open and honest. And so that's my one. It was more the fact that, so yes, she's had an amazing weight loss and feels amazing, but it was hubby. It like got to me when he was tearing up. So he was so grateful to have his wife back.
Well, it turns them around, and they see it themselves, and that's great. Do you have another one? Do you have another testimony? Do you have another?
Yeah, I do actually. So this client, to this day, follows me on all of my social medias and all that, even though she did the program about 2 years ago now, as in she started it 2 years ago and is on maintenance phase like myself. And without being rude, was probably one of my most difficult clients to date. And she knows it. She actually said, I don't know how you put up with me. Because she had tried that many things in the past, and it was all to do with her thyroid. So she knew, like, she was on thyroxine for years. She knew
it's going to mess.
Her main goal
with metabolism.
That's right. And her main goal was to actually have her thyroid balanced, because our program isn't just about weight loss. It balances all of those health conditions and the hormones and everything like that, and then gets rid of the inflammation, So she predominantly, yes, wanted to lose weight, but get this thyroid balanced. And the TSH was so high, even on thyroxine. Anyway, so I had given her a treatment plan alongside the metabolic balance food plan, and she wasn't really on board with it because she was a big exercise person. And I said, you need to change up your exercise. Your body is going into stress mode, causing this imbalance in the thyroid. And she didn't want a bar of it because she loved her exercise and felt like that was the only key to her being able to lose weight, yet it wasn't working what she was doing. And so over time, that trust started to come in. And like, I even had to have a couple of private sessions with her, because she would be ringing me, and I'm in the middle of a client, but expecting me to pick up because she had an urgent question. And so, you've got to have those boundaries as well. But, I got back to her, and in the end, she wrote me the most lovely email and said it was like the TSH was 4.89 or something, and we want it back down at the most 1.5. And she said within 3 months of my protocol and metabolic balance, so she changed her exercise. She went from high intensity exercise to strength training and Pilates. It went down to 1.89. And so it was still a little bit above that 1.5, but what a difference that change in the foods that are right for her, but the change in exercise as well, because her nervous system was high alert, for years. She was a nurse as well, again, look after everyone else and not themselves. Yeah. So she's a one that, she just loves me now because I've, solved her thyroid issue, which helped her lose a lot of weight.
Yeah, and I suspect she reduced her thyroxine as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually one thing I will, because I will never ever say to someone, get off the medication. You just, obviously That's not protocol. But I will always say, if someone's on medication and they're starting to get rid of the inflammation, lose weight, I would just check with your doctor and just let them know, what you're doing and see what they say about the dosage of your medication.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right. So you've done well. We're up to 45 minutes. I think I feel as though I did most
What
of
do
the
you
talking.
normally get to?
Usually about 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah, cool.
So tell us, who's your ideal client then? Who's your ideal avatar?
Yeah. So a woman, 35 plus, but I say a woman, of course I've helped men as well, but the ideal avatar is 35 plus, struggling to lose that weight, going perhaps through perimenopause, menopause, what's been working for them now no longer. They value their health. They don't have a price on their health, and they're ready to make significant changes, and ready to self-care, put you first. And ideally someone that does love the strategic sort of way in, as I say, telling them sort of what foods are right for them, how much, take the guesswork out of everything. Yeah.
Oh, and cool. And I'll go on to the last question. So give us some ideas or information. I'm looking forward to this answer. But give us some ideas or information about how we can create lifelong longevity.
Well, it's the metabolic balance way, right?
Yeah, true.
Well, honestly, I've been doing it for 3.5 years, and
keeping your markers in the right range.
Exactly, yeah, and understanding what you're putting into your body. So that means understanding the ingredient list, the food label, and and I know a lot of people don't like that term balance, but it really is. Like I do what we call the maintenance phase with metabolic balance, and that allows me to live my life as usual and have a social life and enjoy a drink here and there. And, chocolate is my thing I've always loved. And it still allows me to do that whilst maintaining the weight loss that I have and also maintaining those, the health that I've created for myself through metabolic balance. So, balancing out deficiencies and things like that long term. So, so predominantly, I'll let you know how I eat. So it's 3 meals a day, but the meals are the right amount. So protein, I'm having the right amount. I'm not guessing. I'm not under eating protein. I work out 4 days a week with strength training. I need to have the right amount of protein for me because otherwise, as you mentioned, sarcopenia, all of those sort of health issues down the track. And then, so I don't snack in between my meals because I don't need to. I've actually had the right amount of everything on my plate that my program says to then sustain me for 5 hours. And so in between then, I'll enjoy my water. But, at first, I think it was a big change. I always used to love to snack on healthy stuff, but I was still constantly grazing. And the problem is it's, imbalancing the blood sugars like that blood sugar roller coaster. And this is where we get cravings, we get mood imbalance, we get hangry, and obviously put on weight as well. So, once you're doing it for a couple of weeks, you start to feel a lot more energy. Your mood even, like, you can just tell within yourself. Or a lot of my women, hubby has said to them, "You're not snapping. What's going on?" You know. So, but yeah, so I do. I still follow, the 80-20 rule is what we call it for maintenance. So 80% of the time I'll follow my metabolic balance plan. 20% of the time is my sort of social aspect. And as I say, I exercise 4 days a week, and I love hiking as well. So that'll be another, I always do my four gym classes, and then added hiking, walking my dog a lot. Yeah, so being active, having that incidental exercise as well is really helpful. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's right. I call it the three pillars. So eat naturally, eat fresh is best. Move every day,
Mm-hmm.
and keep your mind and your heart quiet. Now
Yeah,
that's
I
hard.
like that. It is. It's a. Look, I think we'll just be learning that forever. The processes
Yeah,
and what works for us, because everyone's so different. So you've got to find what works for you. Mm.
yeah. There's in Chinese medicine, the heart and brain are one. So if you keep them both quiet, if one is quiet, the other will be quiet. So that's the
Mm.
problem. That's the problem, bud.
Yeah, I
It's hard to
know.
keep them
I
quiet.
know.
All right,
That's
guys. Thank you
it's
very
the
much.
goal.
Thank you very much, Melissa. We appreciate your time. I'll get my VA to send you the platforms so you can put your details in there. So if anyone who's been watching this or watches it at a later date, they can go back and contact you directly and find out any more about the methods that you use, especially with weight loss and maintaining that weight loss as well. That's very,
Big
very
thing.
important.
Yeah.
But thank you
Thanks,
very
Dr.
much today. Thanks very much for the gold nuggets today. I learned a little bit today. So much appreciated, Melissa. And Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Thank you.
I'll see everyone in the new year on the 2nd of January. I'll have another podcast then with Wendy Travinas. I probably got that name wrong, but Wendy should be good. But thank you so much, Melissa. And take care, everyone. You've been watching the Get Busy Living podcast. See you guys.